Hello, how are you doing today? So I have Brandon Knoess here, and Brandon, where do you live? Where do you live?
Gettysburg.
You're from
Adams County.
I didn't even know that. So I actually met you, I think, 2 years ago, and you wholesaled me a property over near Possum Lake outside of Carlisle.
Yep.
That's the first dealings we've ever had.
Yes, correct.
And you haven't sold me anything else.
I know, I'm sorry. I don't do a ton of business in Carlisle. I know you're partial up here.
Yeah, I like Carlisle. I will travel up and down 81, just so you know.
Good to know.
But deals are harder than ever right now, it seems like, to find.
They are tough, especially, it's almost like it got really bad when school started. Mm-hmm. Again, that was like the switch that flipped, and all of a sudden it's, you get the high interest rates, people are going back to school, and there's just not a lot of people looking to sell their house to move into something else.
Yes.
Before, I think that you could focus on a really broad range of people that would fall into, hey, I want to sell my house for cash.
Yeah.
And now I think it's only people that need to sell it for cash.
Yeah.
And, you get the pre-foreclosure people or, an inherited property, mm-hmm. something like that. But I think the majority of people just aren't looking to move into places at an 8% interest rate right now.
And there's so many people doing it now, so the people that are selling, they're Googling it. These leads are getting sold out, and you're at the doorstep with 6 others or 7 others that are doing it.
That's exactly it. There's, especially in this market here in Central PA, and a lot of people don't believe me when I say this, but it's one of the most competitive markets in the country. And the reason I know that for a fact is because I've talked to multiple people who specialize in like pay-per-click for, Phoenix, Miami, New York, like these bigger metro markets, and our cost per lead is just as high as those big metros are, which is insane because when they look at our population size, they're like, you should be a third of what these people in Phoenix are paying, but we're as high or more than what they're paying because we are so saturated with investors in this area.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's not quite enough to go around for everybody.
I might buy and close on a house in Chambersburg for $220,000 that I might only make $10,000 on.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I mean, that's how competitive it is right now.
It's tough sledding, and unfortunately, the days of buying stuff that are on the market are long gone. You have to spend the money and find it off market. I know back years ago, we used to be able to pick up a deal was averaging like $2,000. You spend $2,000, you get a deal. And I don't know about on your end, but on my end now, it's probably closer to $5,000. You got to spend $5,000 to pick up a deal in today's market, maybe even more. And a lot of people just aren't willing to spend that. You want to go do 3-4 deals a month, it's $15,000-$20,000. And there's not a lot of people who want to go out and put that kind of money out there for something that may or may not pay off.
That is true. So how did you get? So how old are you right now? How old are you?
I literally turned 35 2 days ago. So I think I'm on the backside of life now. Is how it works.
I'm 48. I'm 48. I might beg to differ. So how did you get into real estate? When did you get into real estate? I know you and I had a connection because you actually did a little bit of assisted living too at one point.
Yes.
So that's how we also got talking recently.
Right.
But tell us about your real estate journey, where you came from, how it went, and what you're doing now.
Yeah. So I basically kind of stumbled into real estate almost. So my wife and I, when we bought our first home, this was down in Lynchburg, Virginia, we had just got married, got out of college, and we bought a little brick ranch where we turned the basement into a 2-bedroom apartment. Yeah. Having no clue what we were doing, we're just like, this sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
So we rented it out to a couple of our college friends, and it was paying our mortgage, our utilities, and then some, and we're like, well, this is awesome. So that was our first rental, so to speak, back in 2012. And then the house next door to us was vacant the entire time we lived there. It was overgrown, nice little neighborhood. Just the people would come by once a year and clean some stuff out and then leave. So I finally caught them there one time and ran over. And again, I'd never flipped a house. I didn't know anything really about real estate, but I just knew I wanted the house next door to me to look better than what it did.
Yeah.
So I went over and talked to them. They ended up selling me the house for $60,000 or something like that. At the time, I was working in an assisted living facility, making $40,000 a year or something like that, working 9 to 5, and we made almost that on the first flip that we did. And I was like, well, that was fun.
How did you fund that first flip?
I get partnered up with a guy that I had worked with in the past, and he had like a construction business and stuff like that, and so he had the construction knowledge and money and all that kind of stuff. So I partnered with him. We split the deal 50-50, and
you did all the work.
Yeah, it was next door, so it was just like it was convenient to, you know, hey, I wasn't actually swinging the hammer because it wouldn't turn out well, but I was managing all the subs every day that were coming in and out, and it worked out great. And literally before we even finished that one, we had already bought the next one at a courthouse auction type deal, and made out good on that one. And then it just, I took it and ran with it from there.
And what area was that in?
That was down in Lynchburg, Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you moved from that. If that was going good, why did you stop?
Yeah. So when we had our second child, I had always told my wife that we'd move back up to be close to family when we had our second one. So second one came along within a month. We moved to Chambersburg, and I started going to sheriff sales and, you know, right back into flipping and doing that kind of stuff. We had a couple rentals down in Lynchburg now. And at that point I had flipped, I don't know, maybe like 15 houses or something like that. Like I had some experience, if you will. And basically just started doing the sheriff sales up here because I still didn't really know a lot about how to market for off-market properties or anything like that. And so ran with the sheriff sales, did a few of those, made some money, and that I just kept running with it up here.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So are you still flipping houses now? What are you doing now?
Yeah. So my thought process was always I was going to be super heavy into flipping. Like that's what my wife and I love to do. That's what we enjoyed. And when the market started to kind of shift up here, we used to flip. We would flip like 10 to 15 homes a year. That was just that was a good number for us. We were comfortable with it. We had the contractors for it. And then as the market started shifting, I started going more towards the wholesale side and also picking up some rentals as well, putting some focus behind that. So like this year, for instance, we've only actually done one flip in 2023.
Oh, wow.
We've done several wholesales, just clean it out, put it back on the market, you know, a few of those. And then the rest has been just strictly wholesale deals and rentals.
Yeah.
So that's basically been it.
So you've only flipped one this year. So normally we flip 50. We're down to 30 this year.
Right. So, yep. Yeah.
And I'm like scraping, pulling hair like every week to try to find.
I see the post on Facebook all the time.
It's for real. If you think I'm desperate, that is a true thing. I'm desperate. I'm ready to like let people use my beach house. Like use the beach house. You know anything I can do.
Speaking of which, I have a deal that I do need to tell you about in Carlisle.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if there's going to be enough of a spread on it. Yeah. Just telling you that up front, but it is pretty much turnkey, ready to go. Nice little ranch home. Blosserville Road. Have you heard of Blosserville Road? Yeah. So
Blosserville.
Is that what it is? Okay, yeah. See, I've been saying it right
I own a 4-unit on that building. It's right down where my 55 and over community used to be.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So I used to drive that all the time.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So it's nice little rancher sitting right there. I'm closing on that one.
Why are you closing?
November 3rd, because I was just going to take it down and relist it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It still might be your best route. It still might be your best route.
Yeah. Yep. I'll get you details on it, and then if you're interested in it, yep, make something happen.
I'll move there.
Yeah, it's a great little downsizing spot. I don't know if you want to move in with kids and everything, but when you get old.
I could move my wife over there. She could just move over there.
Yeah.
She wants cats and dogs. I said, no problem. Second you move out, we'll buy you all the cats and dogs you want.
You can have it over there. Yep. Yeah, it's got a little yard you can fence and everything.
Yeah, that is in our backyard over here. But so are you going to do more flips? Are you going to do more rentals? Like, how many rentals do you have right now? Did you say?
So sitting right around 50 rentals right now.
Yeah.
And we just started putting focus on that this year. It's always been whatever fell into our lap, we just took it as it came. And this year, you know, my wife and I just had a heart-to-heart, and we're like, this is what we want to do long term.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have to always chase the next deal.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was, okay, our rentals that we have, the 10 to 15 that we always fluctuated between, we always made decent money on them. You know, equity's always gone up. Mm-hmm. They've always been good to us. So let's put some focus on it. And I told her at the beginning of the year, I said, I want to be at 50 by the end of the year. And so we hit 50 by August. And so, you know, we still have obviously some time in the year. So now I pushed it to 75 is what I want to be at. So And I don't know how big I want to get, like I know that, there's the, you can get hundreds, thousands of them and, get on level like you. Ronnie Ramooney, he's another guy that has hundreds of them. Like
we have about 800.
Yeah. So I don't know if I want to get that big, and my mindset might change as I acquire more. But like I told you back there, we're self-managing all of them.
Yep.
Which is a lot of work, and so once we get to
they're obviously cash flowing positive.
They're all positive cash flow.
Do you escrow in-house, like for all the escrows that need to be done?
Yep. So we escrow everything. I also have a lot of owner finance deals that are mixed in there too, which has helped with the crazy interest rates because it's, as everybody knows, super tough to make something cash flow right now.
I would say that's the number one way to do it.
Yep. So the owner financing has been huge for me.
The only rentals I've bought this year seem to be single wides or double wides on land, where I get private money at 8%.
Yep.
30-year AM stuff, no money out of pocket. We buy it, fix it up, rent it. A single wide trailer will rent for like $15.95 right now on its own land.
They're great. I had one. That was my second rental down in Lynchburg, and it was fantastic. The only reason I sold it was because we were 4 hours away and we're trying to self-manage. So, but that thing, I made like $800 a month net on that thing. And same, it was single wide on its own little piece of land. We went in and remodeled it top to bottom, and it was fantastic. I'd still own it today if we weren't 4 hours away self-managing it.
And if they're all fixed up, there's really nothing to go wrong.
No.
I even thought about seller. So we have a 5-year deal with our investor on that.
Okay.
So 8%, 30-year AM.
Yeah.
It cash flows $500 positive a month. I thought about just selling it on seller financing, taking like 10 or 15 down.
Right.
Giving a rate at like 10%.
Yep.
And then it would still make $500 a month, and I get a check for 10 or 15 grand up front.
Right. Yeah. You can go the seller. I know a lot of people go the lease option route with those things as well. So you still get that down payment up front, and then if they decide they don't want to buy it, you still get to keep that money, and you got to collect higher than normal rent is the way lease options are supposed to be set up.
Yeah.
So if you could normally rent it for $1,400, you might get $1,600 out of it. So your cash flow is even better.
And they're more apt to want to stay because they're owning. And they
keep it up nicer.
And they, if 5 years down the road, they could be ahead of the market. They
exactly. Yep.
So I haven't taken that aspect till someone reached out and said, "Will you do seller financing on it?" And I was like maybe. Even though I'm in real estate every day and I know this stuff, I didn't even think about doing it that way. I'm either rent it or I'm flipping it. And I thought about it. I'd rather, if I flip it, I'm only going to make 25.
Right. Yeah.
But if I take the 15 up front.
Yep.
And I get $500 a month over 4 years, it could be better.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And you're also trying, I know a lot of people do lease options, set them up, so they're trying to predict where the market's going to be, say 5 years from now when you sell it. So if it's worth, just say 180 right now, you might sell it to them at a lease option for 210 or something like that.
That is definitely, so you're hedging.
Exactly. You're anticipating that real estate always appreciates over time, right? So there are ups and downs, but you're anticipating it's going to be.
Good luck anticipating this market.
Yeah, right. Yeah. This is a wild card for sure.
We did a few TikToks on renting a single wide in Fayetteville. For $15.95 because my brother said, I think we can rent $15.95, and we got bashed up and down on TikTok. And sure enough, it's rented and people moved in.
Oh, for sure. 3-bedroom.
Yep, nice land. It's a 1995, so it's a newer single.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah.
We bought it right off the MLS.
Yeah. I have no doubt. People severely underestimate what the way single wides or any mobile home are built now. They're really not bad.
No.
My parents are looking at buying one up here because they live down in Myrtle now, but they want to come up and stay for some extended time. So they're looking at them.
Have you got into any Airbnbs at all?
I do have one Airbnb over in Fairfield. We bought a 4-unit on seller finance, and 3 of the units were already rented, so we kept the tenants in there, just bumped rents up a little bit. And then the 4th unit was vacant, but it was already, it was clean, fairly updated. So we had a connection with a lady who hosts them for us, does all the management and everything. And so we connected with her. She gave us numbers on what she thought it would do and everything. So we started doing it, and it's been fantastic for us.
When did that start?
That would be about about a year and a half ago now.
Okay.
Something like that.
We have 17 of them.
Okay.
And the trend this year is down from last year.
Yeah.
Overall on most of them.
Yep.
And I think since summer's been over, the trend's even gone down a little bit more.
Yeah.
I just don't think people are doing as. I think everything is starting to get a little tighter for some people.
Right. So here, the reason that we decided to go the Airbnb route on this one is so it's 10 minutes outside of Gettysburg. So Gettysburg during the summer is very touristy. Yep. But then it's also 10 minutes from a ski resort.
Yep.
So we get a lot of winter bookings, and we've already started to book up. We have bookings in December and January already. That are people that are coming in for ski trips.
That Gettysburg area, I think, is a good spot. I know there's more and more of them than there used to be. But.
Yep. The nice part is like Gettysburg Borough, it's good and bad, but Gettysburg Borough is pretty strict with them, so it makes it harder for people to have them unless you're kind of on the outskirts. So ours has been doing great for us. We've talked about doing other ones, but just haven't.
We have some in Hershey in our apartment buildings too.
Nice, yeah. And Hershey would be fantastic. As long as they're in
areas that are allowed, and we have some in the Hershey zone that's allowed.
Okay, yeah.
But if you tried to go buy 300, first of all, you can't find houses in that zone because it's very small, and the restrictions like between houses and stuff, and the parking really make it. But we have we have 3 big houses down in Hershey in that zone.
Okay.
And they do great in those 3 months.
It's like East Chocolate Ave, right? Is that the...
And there's a little triangle out beyond that.
Okay, gotcha.
And ours are in the triangle in a better spot.
Okay.
But if you try to buy something now and then you're paying 7 or 8%, like it starts to be like, because I have like 300 or 325 in each one of them.
Yep. Yeah.
And I don't think you could go, but I don't think that market's going to go away on those because the summer's always going to be good. But now the off season is very slow.
Yeah. The other thing with Hershey is I know people that have one there, and they said they get a lot of people that travel for like the medical center that come in all the time for stuff.
Yeah, like traveling nurses.
Traveling nurses and people who are coming for like, family members there, or, they have to get extended treatment or whatever it is.
It has slowed up this year. Like right now, we've had to reduce them to prices we never have on the large houses.
Interesting.
To like $200 a night. And these are big houses that normally get $350, $400.
Right, yeah.
In the summer, we're getting $700 a night.
Gee whiz.
And they cash flow really good. They clear like 10 grand a month in July and August.
Yep.
But then it averages like we do a trailing 12 on all of our Airbnbs.
Okay.
Like literally by all the expenses on one of those Excel sheets, so we can see the trailing 12 at any point in time.
Yep.
And then I think it's good. I would never buy an Airbnb again if that was the only thing I'm going to do. Like you have to have a backup plan. Like how do you sell it?
Yep. That's why I'm a fan of doing them in the multifamilies, is because like even if that thing made me zero, I'm still going to be at worst case break even.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why we decided to do on this one, is because we already had everything covered and then some with the other 3 that were in there. So it's like if this does well, and to your point, you have some really good stretch of months where it looks great, and then you have months where it looks horrible. And like September for us was horrible. Kids went back to school, people weren't traveling. Like that's a weird season in Gettysburg. And so we had like maybe like $600 total in Airbnb that month. We're normal for that unit, we're right around like $2,200 to $2,500 a month. So when we have those months, same thing. We just look at it over the course of a year and say, okay, like when you take these really good months and these bad months, it's still, I could normally rent this place for say $1,200 a month, but my average is $1,800 a month doing Airbnb. I'm going to keep doing that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, me too.
So
do you manage you have someone else that does it?
We actually, so the girl that was doing it for us, she'd been doing it for us from the start. She just got out of it. So we just took over literally like 2 weeks ago. So we've gotten 3 bookings since we took over. My wife's managing that along with our rentals and that kind of stuff. No.
Okay.
So
we pay Kim's, my sister-in-law's sister, has a regular job.
Yep.
But she can multitask.
Yeah.
So she manages all 17 of our Airbnbs, but she gets 5% for managing the website.
Yep.
And dealing with all that.
Right. Yep.
And then we jump in and help. So we do it for 5%.
Yeah. Yeah. That's super reasonable. I think most people that I talked to were around like 15%.
But they're still going to charge you for any repairs and all that kind of stuff.
Yep,
so
yeah.
It's like,
yeah. You definitely can make out better doing it yourself. And with us having one, it's like, okay, like And it's 10 minutes up the road from our house. So if anything goes wrong, we can take care of it. It's not a big deal. But would I want her managing one if we had down in Gatlinburg or something like that? No, I don't think so. I'd pay
those
somebody.
areas have gotten flooded too.
Yes.
I'm glad I didn't go buy a couple of huge houses. And you might be in a little bit of trouble if you did some of those.
Yes, yeah. Airbnb for me was always just like a supplemental thing on the side where it's like, hey, this is nice extra cash flow, but am I going to live and die by it like some people have? Absolutely not. There's too many risk involved for my comfort level on that.
I agree.
Yeah.
So what you said you might have some questions for the multifamily, so to speak.
So I obviously the biggest thing I bought to date is this 18 unit you and I were talking about, and I really would like to go buy probably something that's like 40 plus.
Okay.
And one is the only way I've ever found any of these multifamilies outside of like the small little duplexes, quads, that kind of stuff, is I literally am driving around, I see a building, I'm like, that looks nice, pull up, my Driving for Dollars app or whatever it is, go skip trace them and call the owner.
Yeah.
And hope and pray that they want to sell, which 99% of the time, as you know, is no. So one of my questions was going to be, how do you guys find, because I know you've bought several that are probably 100 plus or something like that, if I remember correctly. How do you come across those? Is it networking connections? Are you guys actually marketing for those deals, or where are they coming from?
So one of my deals is I bought a 72 unit in Lewisburg from a Facebook post.
Wow.
That basic Facebook post. A realtor connected me.
Yep.
And I ended up giving him 10 grand for the just connecting me.
I've seen you post that many times. Yeah.
That happened once. The next time, one of my property managers found a Facebook ad for a for sale by 40 unit, and I bought a 40 unit off of that.
Right. Yeah.
I paid her just for sending me the lead $5 grand.
Yep.
He ended up seller financing it to us, financed it for 10 years with 20% down.
Nice.
I just was re-looking at that deal, and I actually did a bad deal on that deal. I don't make a lot. I have a 40 unit.
Yeah.
Where I'm 25% owner. I actually had to put up my 25%, which was loaned to me.
Yeah.
And I literally was looking at the other numbers the other day. I only make like $600 a month.
Oh my gosh.
And my investor who put up all the money is making, I think the average he's making 8 or 9% on his money, which is good. He's ecstatic.
Absolutely, yeah.
But if we sold it for what the commercial guy just told me, I would get a check for $400.
Jeez.
Well, I mean,
and how long would it take you? Obviously $600 a month. That's gonna.
Well, that's after paying back the money that I owe. Because I owe on all the other deals. I don't owe my down money. I put zero money in. I don't owe any money, and I get my 25%.
Right. Yep.
But that one deal, we just did it. It was just kind of early on, and that's just the way we did it. Because early on you'll make a deal to get something done.
Right.
And he didn't do it in haste or anything.
No.
Like that.
Yeah.
It seemed good at the time.
Yep. Yeah. And on the bright side, what a lot of people don't think about with the multifamilies, that was something else I was going to dive into with you, is obviously there's tax savings on the back end that a lot of people don't calculate.
Yeah.
Is, that however many millions of dollars you paid for it, that might knock, you might be able to keep 30 grand a year in your pocket that you would have otherwise had to pay in taxes.
Yep.
And then on top of that, obviously you get to control an asset.
Yep.
Which is always, part of the game, is just being able to control it. Again, over time, is it going to appreciate? 99% chance, yes.
Yes.
So I think there's something to be said for even controlling an asset. If you don't make a lot of money off of it, you get the tax savings.
I don't even control it.
Well, yeah. I guess you 25% on that one, but.
Well, no, you can own 25% and still be the controlling person, though.
Correct.
There's different. It's all in the operating agreement.
Yep.
And I don't. And this particular investor is amazing. Like we have a great relationship. I actually emailed him the whole pitch on why we should sell it.
Yeah.
He just didn't respond to me yet. So I have to call him.
Right.
But so that particular deal we did that way. Another broker, like a commercial broker. I'm friends with a good commercial broker.
Yep.
I've done sticky deals with him.
Yeah.
Like 3 sellers. Difficult situation. I bought a 100 unit in Waynesboro with 3 sellers. And in the middle of it, my finance guy that was raising the money for me, Michael Manti out of Lancaster.
I've heard of Mike. Yep.
Michael says, we were on the phone negotiating. He says, Rob, if this is so hard, why are we even doing it? And I literally said to Michael on the phone, I said, listen, if this was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
Let's keep fighting through and figure it out. Because these deals aren't easy to get done. When you're buying something for $13 million and you've never done it, it's hard.
Yeah.
So that deal was $13 million. We needed $5 million in cash from investors.
Yep.
So Michael was going to raise the money. My private investor he had first dibs at it. He kind of didn't want to do it. And he actually missed out. Michael raised the money in 5 days.
Oh, wow.
$5 million.
Jeez.
And the average rent when we bought that like 2.5 years ago was $1,100 a month.
Yeah.
Right now, my average rent is $1,600.
Gee whiz.
And we paid $130 a door for brand new townhouses.
Wow.
They're worth $200 a door right now.
Oh, I'm sure, easily.
And we could sell them off individually if we figured out how to. We'd have to like cash in, which we could probably figure out a way to do down the road.
Yeah.
Just pay it off and then cash it out quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
But that was a home run. So that particular deal, I own 12.5% of it.
Okay.
Michael owns 12.5%.
Yep.
He raised all the money. Out of my 12.5%, I think at closing, I got a. Hold on a second here. Let's see this. Let's see, 13. I got a $200,000 check.
Nice.
I got a $400,000 loss on my taxes that year.
Yep.
And now I've been getting about an $8,000 monthly check.
Wow.
For only 12%.
Jeez.
Now my 200 units that I own by myself, I can take $0 out of my. I literally my 200 I own by myself. When you consider full management and full construction and everything, like I don't even go look at a place.
Yeah.
I can't get a check out of those.
Yeah.
And I bought those so cheap.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know how people buying now individually, if they're paying someone to manage and they're not doing the construction, there's no way it's impossible to make money today.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think the mindset most people are going into now with rentals is if I can buy it and at least not bleed money, then it's probably okay. And they're of course going in with the assumption that rates will eventually come down, which I think everybody agrees at some point they will, but we don't know if that's going to be next year or 10 years from now.
Correct.
So how long can you sit there and hold something and not make money or even lose a little bit of money on it? But inevitably, when rates do come down and you have something where maybe you're only making $50, $100 a month on a duplex or something like that, and you can refi it at 3.5%, maybe someday. Again, it's a big maybe, but then your cash flow is going to be fantastic. So if you want to take that risk, it's an option. I'm not saying to stop buying multifamilies, but
I've kind of I had an acquisitions guy for multifamily. That was one of the other things we've done. So I bought from commercial brokers, word of mouth. Then I hired an acquisitions guy full time, $70K a year minimum plus bonuses.
Okay.
We did that for a year and a half.
Yep.
That's how I bought a 49 unit in Pittsburgh for $65 a door.
Nice.
Home run.
Yep.
When rates were 6%, like I bought it when rates were 4.5. It was a home run at 6% interest rates. Now it's just okay at 8.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I haven't refied out. I'm stuck in it's not floating. I'm at a 4.75 25-year AM.
Okay.
And it's cash flowing. It's cash flowing good.
Yeah.
On 49 units. I have 17 acres beside it that will be free and clear. We can build 200 units on.
Wow.
And that's what we're subdividing now.
Yeah.
For maybe to figure out how to build in the future.
And do you guys want to build, or do you want to sell it off to another developer up there?
We would like to build. We would like to get into building senior housing, senior apartments.
Yep.
I will show you when we're done here some senior apartments.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think senior apartments, you can get more money for them.
100%.
And less headache.
Yep.
And there's such, like, I am seeing the need from my assisted living right now. And you've seen that.
Oh, yeah.
People would rather go into an apartment at $2,000 a month than assisted living for 10, even though they should be in assisted living.
Yep. They need the extra help, but
they'll suck it up. They'll go from their house to this, and they'll just sit in that apartment all day long.
Yes. Yep. So ironic you said that the 18 unit that I bought is almost all elderly people.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that when I was buying it. I didn't know that was going to be our game plan for it, but they are the easiest tenants to deal with because like you said, they literally just sit there. They come out, they socialize with each other, and they just they have their own little community now within this apartment building. And they keep up the place fantastic. The couple that we have had move out and turn over, you go in and you're like, I just have to do like a fresh coat of paint on it and it's good to go. Like the carpet looks like it's brand new in these places. And the guy, the one guy I'm talking about, I lived there for like 4 or 5 years. Like it's, I don't think he ever used the stove. Like the way that they keep up with your place and how low maintenance they are is worth their weight in gold. And like you said, they will pay a premium to be in there. My places are studio apartments, and I'm getting $1,050 a month for them.
Was it that when you got it or no?
No, they were like $600 a month was average. So, which we did raise rates on the people that were there. There was 4 vacancies. Yeah. So we put 4 new people in there like that. Took no time at all. Like it just there's such, like you said, there's such a need for that senior housing that if you can create something that they like, they will pay a premium for it every single time. And I certainly don't feel like I'm taking advantage of them by any means. No. They're still getting it at or below what they would pay to go somewhere else, and way below, like you said, if they were to go to an assisted living place where they're going to pay 5 or 6 times that amount. Yeah. Certainly they get a lot more out of that. But for those people that are kind of in between that, where they don't quite need that much help yet, but they also don't want to have a house to maintain, they love those little apartments. Is perfect. Yep.
So having an acquisitions person worked for a year. Yeah. But when rates kind of went from 4 to 7, you have to get such a discount on a 100 unit or a 50 unit to buy it that I just moved that. I stopped that position. Yeah. And of course, if you find a good deal, you can always find the money. Yes. But the leverage has changed. Okay, you used to get like 80%. Yep. Now you're closer to like 60, 65 on the same deals. Yeah. Yep. And it's just they're squishing it so hard, and so I do know guys that are buying deals, but they're not. The guys I know aren't real. A lot of guys haven't bought a multifamily, a big one this year at all.
Yeah. I think that unless you found something on seller finance,
that's the way.
It would be difficult to have anything that would make remote sense.
And lots of guys that bought like with the bridge financing, and they have investors involved. Yep. And when it goes to they got to get a new rate, and they were budgeting 5 or 6. The deals just don't work at 8. Right. It just doesn't work. Yep. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of deals that fall.
I agree. Yeah. You would have had to buy something for 50 cents on the dollar to be able to get that 7 or 8% interest rate to work.
And then what banks will do is they'll just go to the guy that has cash that's sitting there waiting. Yep. Then it gets sold overnight.
Yeah, because the banks don't want that multi-million dollars sitting on their books either. So they're more than happy to offload it to somebody else. So
we don't have anything. The only one I have kind of at risk is 22 months out. Yeah, and I did the numbers at 7.5% interest, because you can go. Have you done any large multifamily deals? You can do interest only the first 2 years sometimes.
I haven't done anything like that. Nope.
Okay, so I have one multifamily deal I did when rates a year, 3 years ago went from like 4 to 4.5. Okay, that was a big jump in the business.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I got 5 years of interest only.
Wow.
And 5 years of 30-year AM. Okay. So that was the big jump. Going from residentials, I thought everything had to be 20 or 25 years.
Sure, yeah, right.
I was penciling deals and couldn't make it work. Yep. And then I found out that anything over $1 million loan, they have 2, 3, 5 years interest only.
Interesting.
That's how these deals are getting done. Right. And it was like an aha moment, because I lost on deals because I didn't know how to do it.
Right, yeah. Yeah, because if you're budgeting for principal and everything else during that time, your cash flow is going to look horrible.
Then I'm not doing the deal.
Especially while you're trying to stabilize an apartment building like that. So that makes total sense.
So that's like Freddie and Fannie type loans.
Right.
And then they have lots of guidelines, like getting it to closing tables, like a full-time position. Yeah. You're just going back and forth with a bank. There's no closing day. It's like a closing week. So it's like shuffling papers. You never really know if you're closed until someone says, "Okay, it's all done."
Oh my gosh.
It's just papers back and forth. We've done a number of these now, and then of course, they want quarterly updates. They want to see the P&L. They want to see the rent roll. They want to see you get questioned to death.
Wow.
On these deals.
And that goes on the entire time that you have the properties. Wow.
Yeah, some people don't realize that. So you have to be, when you go to that 100 unit or something that you're doing that and you're raising other people's money, you got to have a finance department that can spit out the stuff.
Right. I wanted to jump back real quick. Yes. So you had made a comment about one deal you own 25%, another one 12%.
Yes.
So how are you structuring those? Like, I don't need names of anybody, but how's the structure being set up where you're getting that amount?
Okay, so have you ever heard of Dave Zook over in Lancaster?
Yes.
So I went down with him one time, and I'm like, Dave, how do I want to do some bigger deals? Right. And he always said that he did multifamily to get out of paying tax, and that was a problem I was having. I was starting to pay too much in tax. Yep. So I went to him, and he said, well, Rob, he drew it on a napkin. Yeah. And like 70-30 split. He says you give 70 to the investor
Yep.
And you give 30 to yourself. And all the money you raise, we do acquisition fees of 3%. That's how I got the 200 up front on the one deal I told you about.
Yep.
But we're doing a 70-30 split. And then you really need to see what the investors want.
Right.
So my one investor, I've learned from him over the last couple of years, he wants to be at 7.5%. That's kind of what he wants to be at.
Right.
If he gets to 7.5, and he'll give me a year to get that. So the first year doesn't matter.
Right, yeah.
But in year 2, he wants a pref of 7.5. And we ante up at the end of the year.
Sure, yeah.
Every single one of my deals are way over 7.5. He's getting 15, 16 on a couple of them right now.
Wow, jeez.
We're just destroyed because it's the first 72 unit Hershey we bought.
Yeah.
82 a door, 85 a door.
Oh my gosh.
Destroy, like we're just killing it.
Jeez.
So some deals were 75-30 with 75-25 with him.
Right.
You could have a waterfall that, hey, once you get all your money back, it goes to 50-50 or it reverts.
Yeah.
So you could do a 70-30, but the focus needs to be on what's the return on that investor's money and what are they happy with.
Right, yeah.
I would say like Grant Cardone, like he's giving his people 3 or 4%.
Yeah.
There's people right now doing 70-30 splits where there's no cash flow for 4 years.
Yeah, right.
Like people that are building new stuff in Texas. There's no cash flow at all until you sell it.
Right, yeah. Yep.
It's hard when I've built my main investor to get 7.5.
Yeah.
And now tell him you're not going to make anything.
Yeah.
He's not going to do the deal.
Right, yeah. Yeah, his expectations have been set. And
So it is all based around the investor that's putting in the money in the deal.
Yeah.
So when I crunch my numbers, I'm like, okay, is it 4% day one?
Yeah.
What's the chances? Then I just build it out. And can I get them to that?
Right, yeah.
Now, if the deal was even sweeter yet, then I would hedge that bet. It would be like 60-40 if it was that smoking of a deal.
Right.
Or the waterfall would switch.
Yep. Yeah.
So we do have one particular deal in Lewisburg where we were 75-25. We refied, got all of his money back. He has no money in the deal.
And he's still on 75%.
No, we did revert back to.
I was going to ask, yeah.
So I put a thing in, if you got over 10% return,
Yeah.
that it's 50-50 cash flow.
Yep.
So infinite is more than 10%.
Sure, right.
So he agreed and went to 50%
Yep.
cash flow. But if we sell it, see, I didn't totally. But when you're doing deals, you're just doing, you get them. We sell it at 75-25.
Wow, yeah. That was the part I was going to ask about as well. Is I know a lot of people structure these where they give a big chunk to the investor up front, but then as the investor gets paid back, the investor's percentage goes down, and they ultimately keep something, but it's a much smaller amount. Like you said, if they were at 70, they might be at like 25 at the end.
The one in Waynesboro that we did is supposed to be held forever, so it's 70-30.
Okay.
When we sell it, it goes 60-40 us.
Okay.
If we got them all their money back.
Correct.
And 12%.
Okay.
Don't hold me to that number. I think it's all their money back and 12%. But here's the thing: like if you go to do that, like we could go refi now, but those supplemental loans are so expensive.
Yep.
It's cheaper than the 14% we're paying out to those investors.
Yeah.
But what if you do it and you can't pay them almost all their money back?
Right.
Then you're kind of in that window where you're not going to make any money.
Yeah.
And right now we're each making $7,500 a month, so we have to figure out what's going to make everybody happy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Where's that number at?
But so that 70-30 split, I focus on the investor, and then operation. When you close a deal like this, how are you going to run that for 10 years without running out of money?
Yeah. Yep.
That's the other thing that we've gotten better at. When you start with a 10 unit, it's easy.
Yeah.
When you mess up on a 20 unit, which we did, we raised no money on it.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, we need to redo all these hallways. That's like $15,000.
Right. Yeah.
So that was easy to go back to the investor and say, hey, we need to do these hallways. We messed up. But then I ended up, every deal I did, I raised more and more extra.
Yes.
I have you showed you $500K sitting in one complex.
Right. Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to make sure that if something goes wrong, if you have to go redo all the roofs next year, then you got a chunk in there.
I don't know. It wouldn't redo those roofs.
Yeah. Not that. Yeah.
I don't know which one that was we were looking at. The 146 unit that I think has the 500, I just redid the roofs the day I closed.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So we look at the roofs and what we need to do.
Yeah. All the major stuff up front.
The 72 unit in Lewisburg, the day we closed, we did all the roofs. It was $225,000.
Jeez.
But it was in the budget. I actually raised the sale price and got seller help to cover the roofs.
Nice. Yep. That's smart. Yep. I've seen that a lot where people raise prices in order to cover those extra costs. Not to that extent, but on smaller.
Lewisburg was $43,000 a door, and the average rent day one was $700.
Yeah.
That was almost the 2% rent roll.
Yep.
Day one.
Yep. Yeah, that's
sometimes you get lucky.
Absolutely, you do. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The 18 unit I got, I paid $600,000 for that. It's 30 a door, and that was
30 a door.
30 a door. Yep. Yeah, and I got. The reason I love that deal so much is because the lady who sold it to me, the bank I work with, they will allow seller help for the 20% down payment.
Really? Still.
Yep. So they did seller help. And the lady carried 20% for me, 4% interest, 10 years, no problem. And then the bank financed the other 80%.
What kind of terms is that?
The bank is 25-year AM, 10-year balloon.
Good. You fixed it for 10 years?
Yes. Yep. Fixed for 10 years. The other nice part with this bank, Patriot Federal Credit Union, in case anyone wants it, they will do, there's no prepayment penalty, none. So if 3 years from now the rates drop and I want to go refi, I can refi. It doesn't cost me anything because a lot of these loans you have prepayment penalties on them. So this one I have a 10-year.
What is your rate on that one?
That one is 6.7.
Wow.
So yeah, 6.7 on the 80% and then 4% on the 20%.
I recently I sent out some postcards, and then the one guy called me. He has a warehouse in He had a warehouse in Carlisle, and 2 houses behind it. I sold him the 2 houses for $150 like 6 years ago.
Okay.
So he says, I know I got this card, Rob, and I know you're not buying commercial, but I'm thinking about selling my commercial. Sent my brother Mike out there. We bought the commercial building for $600. We bought the 2 houses for $165.
Oh my gosh.
And we went, I got private money on the 2 houses, and then I got a bank loan on the one. I had to put $100K out of pocket.
Right.
And I got 5.99% for 7 years, and that's $600. I get paid $600 for that building, and I think I could get maybe $750 or $800 for it down the road.
Wow.
Maybe if I keep it long enough, $900.
And what's it being used for right now?
Oh, they continued to. His relative is renting the building.
His relative, okay, gotcha.
That was running the. It was not ATM, but like snack machine business.
Okay, yeah.
So they're renting it.
Nice.
And we predetermined that rent. For this period. So I based it all on that.
Yeah. Right. Yep.
But if someone. The cost to build a warehouse. It's like a 5,000 square foot steel building.
Wow.
It's not in Carlisle.
Jeez.
In the borough, like on the other side, like close to 81.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. It costs to build something like that. It's what, 400 plus? Easy?
No, I couldn't build it for what I paid for it. I couldn't build it for 600.
Oh my gosh, gee whiz.
There's a whole bunch of buildings and garages attached to it. And and I didn't tell you there's an apartment in the attached on the side of the building.
Oh wow, jeez.
Now the apartment was getting 600.
Yeah.
The guy stayed, and we raised it to 1,100 day one.
Yeah.
And then the 2 houses he was renting for $900 a piece. We renovated one completely.
Yep.
Now we get $1,600 a piece. One other person didn't even move because they can't go anywhere.
No, well that's the thing. People talk to me a lot about that if you raise rent, you're going to lose tenants. Like they have nowhere else to go. Like there's people. So a couple of ours, we bumped a lot of people up. We hadn't done rent increases in about 2 years. Mm-hmm. And so we bumped a lot of ours up like $100 or something, super reasonable. And people are like, well, they're just going to move out. It's like, no, they won't, because I'm still under market rent. And if you go look in Adams County right now, there's like 4 rentals available, and they're all like $1,500 plus. Yeah. And it's for like a 2-bedroom crummy apartment. Like there's nowhere to go. Like unless they're going to move in with family, which they're not. So I the greedy landlord thing bothers me. That's a whole nother conversation.
When people say that?
Yes, drives me nuts.
Yeah.
So they have no understanding of the fact that I have a mortgage to pay, I have taxes to pay, I have insurance to pay. I'm probably covering some of their utilities as well. And then I get kicked a couple $100 a month on the back end.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Exactly. That's
Except
assuming nothing goes wrong that month.
Then the turn goes and all that stuff. It becomes more challenging.
Yeah.
But I would say rental properties can lead to wealth down the road.
Oh, 100%. For sure. Yep.
What would you say to someone that doesn't have a rental property that wants to get their first one? How would you do it? What would you do?
If it was me, I think that I'm going to go at this from the mindset of no marketing dollars, right?
Yeah, no marketing dollars. Yeah, you're 25 years old.
Right. Yeah. So I'm going out and going to as many REI meetups as I can. Yep. I'm talking with as many realtors as I can. Take them out to lunch, network with them, do whatever you have to. get your foot in the door and just tell them exactly what you're looking for. Hey, I'm looking for house hacking is probably the best way to get
2
into
or 3 unit, right?
Yes,
go
up
to 4.
Up to 4, yep, because you can get your regular financing there, your low interest or low down payment financing. Go buy a 2, 3, 4 unit property, live in one, rent out the others. It'll cover your mortgage and everything, even with the higher interest rates.
Yeah.
House hacking still makes a ton of sense. So go tell an agent, tell other REI investors what you're looking for, and go buy a multifamily, move into one of the units, rent out the other 2, 3, 4 units, whatever it is, and pay your mortgage.
You do all the work yourself. Learn how to do it.
Yes.
Don't say I can't do it, and then be strict. You got to be firm with your tenants, right?
Yeah, you have to treat it like a business from day one. Because if you move a bunch of your friends and family in there, you're just asking for issues down the road when inevitably, Uncle Jerry can't pay his rent because this, and this, and 3 months down the road, you still don't got a penny from him because now his finances are affecting your finances. Yeah. So I do try and keep that separate as best I can of, friends and family. Like, obviously, I try and help them out as much as possible. But when it comes to the business side of things, you have to have some kind of line there of this is business and this is family. Yeah. And I think one of the biggest light bulb moments for people in the rental business is when you start actually treating it like a business instead of just a hobby.
Yeah.
So
we give some deals to people that work for us, though. There's some people that work for us and rent some of our places, and we've always given some heavy discounts on some of those. In today's market, it looks like a heavy discount.
Right, yeah.
But so do you see do you even see this market crashing at all? Like, the people have been talking about a crash for the last 5 years in my networking groups that I've been in. They keep saying it, right? I think if we all keep saving, eventually we might be able to get there.
Yeah. I think at some point there's going to be a correction, and I've had several realtors even text me in the last month or so saying I think the market's softening.
It takes a week to get an offer now.
Right,
2 weeks.
versus an hour.
But the showings are less. I will say the nice listings that I've done have been less.
Yep, yeah. The showings are less. Houses are still selling. There's still a major lack of inventory. So I look at properties in. I've been looking at properties within like a 25-mile radius of Gettysburg. Yeah. Okay. On the MLS, and it's always been like between 700 and 800 active listings. Like that's just like the average, and it's stayed like that for 2 years basically. Mm-hmm. Hasn't changed. Even now, it still hasn't changed. I think we're sitting at like 810 right now or something like that. So I think that Economics 101 dictates like supply and demand, right? So as long as there is a supply issue, then there's always going to be the price demand that kind of stays there. So even with the high interest rates, so do I think there's going to be some type of correction? Yes. Do I think it's going to be a 50% cut like we saw in 2008 when the housing market crashed? No. I don't see that happening. 10, 15, maybe 20.
We thought COVID was going to do that.
We absolutely did. All of us did. And then it did the opposite.
Doesn't make any sense.
No
one really working and houses are selling like crazy. Yes. It makes no sense.
It was crazy the way that the real estate market took off there. But again, what happened was the supply got yanked down. Yeah. Everyone's like, I'm not putting my house on the market right now because I don't want people walking through it. And then everybody's like, well, I still need a house to move into, and interest rates are still 3.5% or whatever they were at that time. So people were still buying. Yep. So we sold our house right at the beginning of COVID. Like it was like April 2020. Yeah. I think it was. And we made out great on it. We had plenty of showings, sold within a couple days, and of course we got out the first couple months. We're like, thank goodness we sold when we did. And then we're kicking ourselves a year later. We're like, man, we should have held on to that place. Could have made an extra $60,000 just holding on to it, not doing anything. But that's how it goes.
The other thing that I tell investors that buy rental properties is the more rental properties you buy, and this is from CG that I've learned, is the more cash you need to save in case something does happen. Yep. I for some reason I've had more money saved now than I ever have, even though I've spent more than I ever have, and that's from like they put this old house up on stage every time, like out by itself, that like sturdiness. Yep. And they keep telling us to save more money in case something happens. So I think if you're going to do more and more, you should save more and more as a reserve. Yep. Yeah. Because then you don't make a panic decision. Yep.
I think a lot of people, when they're analyzing cash flow, especially new investors, they don't anticipate. I think vacancy and setting aside for maintenance and upkeep are the two things that get missed all the time.
Yeah.
So we do 10% for both. We set aside 10% for vacancy and 10% for maintenance and upkeep. So if we bring in $50K a month in rental income, then $5,000 a month is going into that savings account. And that savings account goes up and down, obviously, depending on, we got a turnover we got to do, and there goes $10,000 or whatever it is. But if you're not setting that aside, you're going to have to make a panic decision, which you never want to be in that situation. So
I actually, really, in 20 years, I've never taken any of my rental income and allocated it towards a monthly expense.
Yeah.
Never. Mm-hmm. Not yet. Because once you build that passive income, if you get it to like $5,000 or $10,000, and you spend $5,000 of it on the beach house or something, then it's like you only have $5,000 left.
Right,
well, actually, after taxes, you have $7,000.
Yep.
You really only have $2,000. So I've just kept building my passive income. Yeah. Right now, it's like at about $50,000. That's about what it is. So we invested all of our profits into like the assisted living. So that's our next project. So
that's. I think that if you go into the rental game with the mindset of I'm going to build passive income and retire in 10 years, like that's super difficult to do.
Yeah.
Especially now, obviously, but like even when interest rates were low, and same kind of idea. Like we might have like I think on our end like. $10,000-$12,000 a month in like passive that comes in, but we don't live on that money. We don't use that money. Like it's just like I use the money from flips and wholesales and novations, whatever it is, to take that money and we live off of it. And that extra rental money is just going set aside, and like it's probably going to be used to buy more rentals or whatever it is.
Exactly.
But don't get the shiny object syndrome too soon.
No.
It's not a bad thing at some point, but like people get it too soon and like hey, I got $30,000 in my bank account. I'm gonna go put a down payment on a whatever.
Or
it
their
is.
Rentals make $1,000 a month, and then they're going out to eat and spending all that. That just is so. But if you sacrifice for a while, you can do things differently down the road.
Yeah, and it's not something that you have to sacrifice till you're 65 in your retirement age. Literally just do it for like 5 years, and you'll be ahead of 95% of people.
My wife thinks we've been doing it for like 20 now. She still has to ask me for extra money to do stuff. I'm not kidding. So, hey, I appreciate you coming in today.
Yeah, man.
I think people will get some information out of this, and appreciate it.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.